There's a particular kind of quiet that settles between two people who care about each other but aren't saying everything. Maybe you felt it. Things are technically fine. He's not complaining. He says he's good when you ask. But something underneath that answer doesn't quite match the look in his eyes sometimes, that brief flash of something hungry, something wistful, before he smooths it over and changes the subject. You're not imagining it. Most women in this situation start quietly wondering if the problem is them. Maybe she's not exciting enough. Maybe he's bored. Maybe he wants something she doesn't know how to give. And the most painful part isn't the uncertainty itself, it's that he won't just say what it is. Here's what you need to understand. His silence isn't about you being inadequate. It's about him being human. Men carry an entire internal world of intimate desires, specific things they crave, specific ways they want to feel in your presence that most of them will never put into words, not because those desires are shameful, not because they don't trust you, but because somewhere along the way they learnt that wanting too specifically, too openly, too vulnerably was a risk they couldn't afford to take. What you're about to hear in this video isn't a list of complaints he's been silently cataloguing. It's a map to his inner world, the emotional and intimate landscape most men carry privately, hoping someone will see it without them having to expose it completely. Think about the impossible position most decent men are in. Society tells them to be respectful, considerate, and never pushy. But it also tells them to be passionate, confident, and the one who leads, to want but never want too much, to pursue but never pressure. That tightrope is exhausting. And for most men, the safest way to walk it is to simply not ask, to stay quiet, to hope she somehow senses what he needs and meets him there without him having to risk looking selfish, demanding, or strange for wanting it. So he edits himself. He takes what's offered and calls it enough. He buries the specific things that would make him feel truly seen and satisfied, and he replaces them with "I'm fine" and a smile that almost reaches his eyes. This isn't weakness, it's self-protection. And once you understand that, everything about his behavior starts to make a different kind of sense. Over the next few minutes, you're going to hear 10 things that most men secretly crave in their intimate lives. Not acrobatics, not performances, not anything that requires you to become someone you're not. These desires are about how he feels in your presence. How safe, how wanted, how human. Understanding them doesn't mean you're obligated to fulfill every single one. What it means is that you now have access to a psychological map most women never get to see. You can choose consciously and on your own terms which of these you want to lean into and which simply help you understand him better. Some of what you're about to hear will surprise you. Some of it will quietly confirm something you already suspected. Either way, by the end of this, you'll understand him in a way that changes how you see everything. From the time most men are teenagers, they're handed a very specific role in attraction. You pursue. You reach out first. You make the move. You read the signals and take the risk. You send the text and wait, heart quietly hammering, to see if she responds. Most men play this role for their entire lives without ever being asked if it's exhausting. And it is, not because they don't want to pursue, many genuinely enjoy it, but because the relentlessness of always being the one to initiate creates a quiet, persistent anxiety underneath everything. Am I wanted or am I just convenient? Does she desire me or is she simply willing? That distinction matters more than most women realize. There is a profound difference between a man who feels tolerated and a man who feels genuinely craved. And most men have spent far more time in the first category than the second. What he secretly desperately wants is a single moment or many moments where you are the one who can't hold back, where your eyes find him across the room and don't look away, where your hands reach for him before he reaches for you, where your voice or your touch or your expression says, without any ambiguity, "I want you," not because you initiated, not because it's been a while, because I looked at you and I couldn't not. To his nervous system, that experience doesn't just feel good, it rewires something fundamental. It shifts the internal story from "I am always the pursuer, always the one at risk of rejection," to "I am someone she chooses." That shift changes how safe he feels with you, how confident, how present, how willing to be vulnerable in return. You don't have to manufacture a desire you don't feel, but if you do feel it, and most women in relationships do, more than they express, letting it show, even in small and imperfect ways, is one of the most powerful gifts you can give him. A text that says you've been thinking about him, reaching for his hand before he reaches for yours, looking at him like he's someone worth looking at. It costs you almost nothing. To him, it means everything. Even men who genuinely enjoy being in charge carry a weight that rarely gets acknowledged, the constant pressure to get it right, to read the mood correctly, to choose the right moment, to maintain the right pace, to keep her satisfied while managing his own experience simultaneously. It is, when you think about it, an enormous amount of mental labor for something that's supposed to feel good. Underneath that performance pressure, many men quietly fantasize about a different kind of experience entirely, one where she decides, where she guides his hands to where she wants them, where she chooses the pace, the direction, the tone, and he gets to simply be present in what she's creating, rather than constantly directing it. This isn't about weakness or passivity, it's about trust. When she takes the lead, it tells him that she wants this enough to claim it, that he doesn't have to earn or manage every moment, that he can let go of the choreography and actually feel what's happening. You don't have to become someone you're not. Taking the lead can be as simple as saying, I want to try something, and following through. The shift in his energy when you do will tell you everything. Here is something most women don't know about the men they're with. While he looks confident, there's a running commentary happening inside his head during intimate moments that sounds something like this. Is she enjoying this? Am I doing this right? Has she gotten bored? Should I change what I'm doing? Is she just waiting for this to be over? Men are significantly more insecure about their intimate performance than they appear, and silence, which many women interpret as contentment, often lands on him as ambiguity, which his anxious brain quickly fills with the worst possible interpretation. What he craves isn't theatrical performance or exaggerated praise. He can tell the difference between real and performed actually makes him feel worse. What he wants is honest, specific feedback. Not "that was nice, but I love when you do that." Not silence, but a sound or a word or a shift in your body that tells him clearly that what he's doing is working. This isn't about feeding his ego. It's about giving him the information he needs to relax and to focus all of that freed up mental energy on giving you more of what actually feels good. There is a version of men that popular culture has sold us for decades. Emotionally disconnected, physically focused, incapable of vulnerability. And while that version makes for convenient shorthand, it bears almost no resemblance to the actual men most women are in relationships with. The truth is quieter and more tender than the stereotype. Most men have moments, specific moments, that they return to privately, not because of what happened physically, but because of how they felt. The way she rested her head on his chest afterward and didn't rush to fill the silence. The shared laughter that broke the tension and made everything feel lighter. The moment she looked at him with something in her eyes that wasn't performance or politeness, but actual presence. Those are the moments he carries. Those are the moments that make him feel like what happens between you isn't just a physical transaction, but evidence of something real. What he's too shy to ask for is the feeling that intimacy means something to you too. That you're not just accommodating him, but actually choosing to be there, choosing to be close, choosing him specifically. He wants to feel the emotional current running underneath the physical one. The sense that when you're together in that way, you're also closer in every other way. He may never say this out loud. The cultural script he was handed doesn't include language for it. But if you've ever noticed him lingering a little longer than necessary, or going quiet in a way that felt almost soft, you've already seen it. That's him trying to stay inside the feeling a little longer before it slips back into ordinary life. Real intimacy is not a highlight reel. It involves bodies that make unexpected sounds, positions that don't work as planned, moments where someone gets a cramp at precisely the wrong time, and situations where the mood evaporates so completely that both people are left staring at each other in mild bewilderment. These moments happen to everyone, and how a couple handles them reveals more about the health of their connection than almost anything else. Here's what he's experiencing in those seconds when something goes sideways. He's not just embarrassed about the awkward thing that happened. He's watching your face, waiting to see if this moment is going to cost him something. If you're going to seem disappointed or uncomfortable or subtly less attracted to him because his body didn't cooperate or the moment didn't go smoothly, what he deeply, quietly craves is your ability to laugh, to make a light comment, kiss him, and keep going without turning the moment into evidence of something wrong. When you can do that, when you can be human with him in those imperfect seconds, his nervous system receives a message that is more powerful than almost any other. We are safe here. You are safe here. You can be imperfect with me, and I will not withdraw. That message doesn't just ease the awkward moment. It builds a foundation of safety that makes him more confident, more adventurous, and more emotionally open over time. Somewhere between the cultural pressure to be impressive and the anxiety of wanting to satisfy her, Many men end up feeling like they're auditioning during intimate moments rather than actually being present in them. Every choice feels weighted, every response from her gets analyzed. The whole experience starts to feel less like connection and more like a performance review. Underneath that exhausting vigilance is a desire most men would never think to articulate. They want permission to play, to try something slightly ridiculous and laugh when it doesn't work, to be experimental without the stakes feeling impossibly high, to say, okay, that was weird, let's try something else, without it becoming a referendum on his attractiveness or your satisfaction. Playfulness in intimacy isn't immaturity. It's actually one of the highest expressions of trust. It means both people feel safe enough to be imperfect together, to be curious together, to treat the whole experience as an exploration rather than a test. When you invite that kind of lightness, when you tease him gently, when you try something new without making it a big deal, when you let the energy be fun rather than serious, you create something rare, a space where desire can actually grow, because neither of you is too afraid to be real. Culture has handed men a very specific template for how intimacy is supposed to unfold: fast, intense, goal-oriented, efficient. Get there, make it happen. Don't linger too long, or you'll seem uncertain. Don't slow down, or she'll get bored. Most men absorb this template so completely that they don't even realize they're following it. They move at a pace that was handed to them, not one they actually chose. And underneath that pace, quietly and persistently, many of them are starving for something completely different. They want to slow down. They want longer kisses that don't immediately become something else. They want the kind of touch that isn't heading anywhere in particular, that's just present with itself. They want eye contact held a beat longer than necessary. They want the tension that builds when two people are close and unhurried and paying attention to each other. He doesn't ask for this because he's worried about what it would mean if he did. Would she think he's unsure of himself? Would she get bored waiting for him to move things forward? Would slowing down make him seem less passionate rather than more present? So he maintains the pace he was taught, and he misses the experience he actually wanted. What you can offer him without him having to ask is permission to linger, a hand that moves slowly and without urgency, a pause that says we're not racing anywhere, eye contact that communicates I'm here with you, not just moving through the motions with you. When he feels that permission, something in him settles, the performance anxiety quiets, his nervous system stops managing and starts actually feeling. And ironically, the slowness he was afraid would bore you often creates an intensity that rushing never could. There is a window of time after intimacy that most people don't talk about. It's brief, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and it's neurologically significant in ways that matter enormously to how connected both people feel afterward. During this window, his body is flooded with hormones that make him unusually open. The performance pressure has lifted. The outcome has been reached. His nervous system is in a state of relaxed vulnerability that he almost never experiences in any other context. He is, in those minutes, more emotionally accessible than he will be at almost any other point in his day. And if you disappear in those minutes, roll away, reach for your phone, start mentally composing tomorrow's to-do list. He doesn't consciously think she doesn't care about me. But something in his body registers the withdrawal. The warmth closes off. The moment becomes purely transactional in his memory, even if everything before it was wonderful. What he quietly craves in that window is so simple, it almost seems too small to matter. Your presence, a hand that stays, your head on his chest, fingers tracing his arm without any agenda. A few words that aren't about logistics or planning, but just about being there with him. That felt really good with you takes 3 seconds to say. The effect it has on how bonded and valued he feels can last for days. This is where long-term attraction is actually built. Not in the big moments, but in the quiet ones immediately after, when both people choose to stay instead of retreat. Almost every man carries something he has never said out loud. Not a dark secret, not something harmful, just a private landscape of imagination, specific scenarios, specific feelings, specific dynamics that he has never shared with anyone because the risk of the reaction felt too high. He's not afraid you'll leave over it. He's afraid of something subtler and more lasting. The look, the slight shift in how you see him, the moment where he becomes, in your eyes, someone a little less trustworthy, a little more complicated, a little harder to be comfortable around. So he keeps it private, he carries it alone. And that privacy creates a small but persistent distance between you, not because the fantasy itself is a problem, but because having something he can't share means there's a version of him you never quite get to meet. What he actually wants isn't always to act on the fantasy. Often what he wants is simply to feel safe enough to mention it, to say something and have you stay curious instead of immediately alarmed, to discover that you can hold his inner world without it changing how you feel about him. You don't have to agree to anything. You don't have to share the fantasy or participate in it or even fully understand it. What matters is the quality of your response when he risks showing you something private, something like, "Tell me more about that," or "I'm glad you told me," or even "That's not really my thing, but I love that you felt safe enough to share it." These responses don't commit you to anything. What they do is open a door that most couples never find, a door to genuine intimacy, where both people feel known rather than curated. The man who can share his inner world with you is a man who trusts you completely. And that level of trust transforms everything about how connected you both feel. Here is the desire that most women find genuinely surprising when they first hear it, and then immediately recognize as true once they sit with it for a moment. His deepest craving underneath all the others, underneath the desire to feel wanted and led and praised and emotionally connected, is to feel like he is the source of your genuine pleasure, not your polite participation, not your patient accommodation, your actual, unguarded, unperformed pleasure. This is not about pressure. It's almost the opposite of pressure. It's about what actually lights up his nervous system most completely. And the answer is not a specific technique or a specific scenario. It's the experience of watching you stop performing and start actually feeling. When your body relaxes in a way you didn't plan, when a sound escapes that you weren't managing, when your face does something unguarded and real because the sensation overwhelmed your ability to curate your expression. In those moments, something happens in him that no technique in the world can replicate. He feels powerful in the deepest sense, not dominant but genuinely effective. Not performing but actually mattering. The irony is profound. So many women spend enormous energy focused on his pleasure, worried about whether they're doing enough, performing the reactions they think he wants to see when what he actually wants most is for her to stop performing entirely, to be present in her own experience, to let herself feel what she feels without editing it for his consumption. Your authentic pleasure is not a gift you give him. It's a truth you allow yourself to have. But the side effect of that truth is that it gives him something he has been quietly hoping for his entire intimate life, the experience of being with someone who is genuinely, visibly, unambiguously moved. That is his deepest desire, and it requires nothing from you except permission to feel what you actually feel. Let's take a breath and come back to you for a moment. You've just heard 10 things that live quietly in the interior world of most men, desires they carry privately, needs they rarely voice, cravings that shape how safe and seen and satisfied they feel in their intimate lives. And if part of you is already running a mental checklist, already calculating how many of these you're currently providing, already feeling the pressure to do more or be more, I want you to pause. These are not demands. They are not a report card. They are not evidence that you've been getting it wrong. They are a map, and maps give you choices, not obligations. You get to decide which of these you want to explore, which resonate with your own desires, and which simply help you understand him better without requiring any action at all. Real intimacy, the kind that actually lasts, the kind that deepens over time, is never built on one person twisting themselves to meet the other's needs. It's built on two people feeling safe enough to be honest, curious enough to keep learning each other, and grounded enough in their own desires to bring something real to the space between them. Pick one thing from this list that genuinely interests you. Try it not as a performance, but as an exploration. Stay connected to how it feels for you. And notice what happens when both of you start moving toward honesty instead of assumption. That's where the real intimacy lives. If something in this video landed differently than you expected, if it gave you language for something you've been sensing but couldn't name, I want you to do 3 things. First, like this video, it genuinely helps more women find this content, and the conversations we're having here matter. Second, leave a comment below. Tell me which of these 10 desires surprised you most, or which one quietly confirmed something you already knew. Your responses shape what I create next, and I read everything. Third, subscribe if you haven't already. Every week, we go deeper into the psychology of connection, desire, and what it actually takes to build the kind of intimacy most people only hope for. You won't find this kind of conversation anywhere else. The most powerful thing you can bring to any relationship is understanding, and you just got more of it. I'll see you in the next one.